Now, when I first initially watched this fight, I believe that there's no possible information that we can take from a 40-second fight. But upon rewatching the contest, I realized that Conor McGregor showed us a few of the aces up his sleeve, a few of his secrets. Now, the first one I realized was after I broke down and watched in slow-mo multiple times and actually thought about what happened during the initial exchange. That left hand that Donald Cerrone slipped under. This is a single leg defense. Conor McGregor and Donald Cowboy Cerrone are opposite stances, which means that the single leg is going to be very prevalent as a takedown. Why is this? Is because a single leg is used off of your lead hand. So I have to drop down with my lead hand and lead foot to snatch up their leg. This becomes much easier in opposite stance because the two lead legs are on the same side, which means either person can change levels and without even coming forward at all, without driving, can pick up and snatch that lead leg. So when Conor McGregor went and threw that overhand, overextended on that left-hand shot, Donald Cowboy Cerrone slipped to the outside, and Conor McGregor instinctively, knowing that he had overextended, brought his rear leg forward to counter for the single leg defense. I believe that Conor McGregor is still preparing for Khabib, even to this day, still preparing for wrestlers, and I believe that this is something that he either implemented in his last fight that we weren't able to see in the Khabib fight, or this is something that is newly cultivated within this camp. The second secret ace up sleeve that we saw was the shoulder strikes from Conor McGregor. This was absolutely fantastic. I've never seen shoulder strikes this effective ever, let alone have I ever seen an open mat. The only times I've ever seen shoulder strikes used is up against the cage. When somebody has somebody pinned with their back up against the cage, it's very easy to land shoulder strikes because they can't move, they can't go anywhere. Conor McGregor did this after flying through the air and switching stances, tying up an overhook, grabbing bicep control on the same side. So with Conor McGregor's left hand, he grabbed bicep control, which means he's the one who's able on that side to determine the distance between himself and Donald Cowboy Cerrone. If Donald Cowboy Cerrone's shoulder is plastered up against Conor McGregor's, Conor can't throw that strike, so he grabs bicep control so he can push and pull, so he can push just a little bit to get that distance to jump up and hit Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I believe this is another one of those anti-wrestler techniques that he either planned or plans on using against Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now, the significance of this is that Khabib's a smart man. If I'm able to figure this out after just a few minutes of going over footage, Khabib and his team very much so have the capability to figure this out and game plan against it. Whether it be the over commitment on the left hand, lean to the stance switch so that Conor McGregor can avoid the single leg, or the shoulder strikes. Now, after those shoulder strikes happened, Donald Cowboy Cerrone's face was already busted. His nose was bleeding and his left eye was blackened. Now, I don't know if those were two separate shoulder strikes or if Conor McGregor actually broke Donald Cerrone's nose on one of those strikes. But as they disengaged, Donald Cerrone was obviously in trouble. From there, Conor McGregor does probably the most spectacular thing of the night, the head kick. People are impressed by this just because Donald Cowboy Cerrone has the most head kick knockouts in UFC history, but it goes an even layer deeper than that. Conor McGregor threw the specific head kick that Donald Cerrone is known for knocking everybody out for. I actually call this striking sequence in my gym the Cowboy. It is the feint hand, the feint punch to kick. Now, how this works is if you have somebody reacting to your punches, say every time I throw my rear hand, you're slipping deep to the outside. You're committing hard for that slip away from the right hand. I'm going to fake my right hand and throw my right leg instead. Donald Cowboy Cerrone has finished the majority of his head kick knockouts with this sequence, if not all of them. Conor McGregor knew that Donald Cowboy Cerrone was going to be reacting very hard to that left hand shot. He saw him do it against Robbie Lawler. He saw him do it against Mike Perry. He's seen him do it against anybody that steps in deep with rear hand straights. Donald Cowboy Cerrone is very good to slip into the outside, but he overcommits to it. And he didn't even overcommit in the Conor fight. But he committed just enough to the slip, committed just enough to parrying and feigning the left-hand shot. There wasn't enough time for him to recover, to avoid that cowboy high kick. I know Khabib is watching this fight. I also know that Khabib knows that he got drunk Conor. I wasn't sure of it. I wasn't sure during the build-up to the Khabib-Conor McGregor fight that Conor was actually a drunk. I thought that he was possibly just playing it off in that moment within that press conference. But looking at the way that Conor McGregor performed the night, his attitude, his the way that he's going about carrying himself, it is obvious to see that this is a different Conor McGregor. It is obvious to see that there was a diluted version of Conor McGregor in that Khabib camp. Khabib knows this. Khabib also just saw a few of the aces of Conor McGregor's sleeve that he planned on pulling out. And so did everybody else for that matter. Jorge Masvidal, Kamaru Usman, Georges St. Pierre, as well as Justin Gaethje, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and whoever else you want to throw in there at 155 to 175 pounds that would make a good name. Fantastic performance by Conor McGregor. I'm mind blown for how much information we're able to gauge from a 40-second fight, especially considering the fact that I didn't think we were going to get anything from it. After watching it, I'm like, dang, we didn't know. No questions were answered here about how Conor McGregor is going to fare at 170 pounds. How Conor McGregor is going to do going back to 155. I didn't think there was any information to gain from it. That's what happens when you live commentary and live stream fights. You don't get to internalize as much of it. Upon rewatching, I realized that I couldn't have been any more wrong. That Conor McGregor possibly showed us more in these 40 seconds than he's ever shown us in the cage before. On top of that, I'm actually more impressed by Conor McGregor's post-fight press conference than I was even the fight. Breakdown on that coming soon. Whether you wanted to see him win or want to see him lose, boys, it doesn't matter to me. The only thing that matters to me is that you stay combative, my friends. Bowser! Hey! Say goodbye to the people.